the Fate series, created by Type Moon. It is a world for the horny, a world for the gotcha, and a world for historical figures to be reinterpreted in the worst way possible. Or the best, depending on who you talk to. In this billion-dollar franchise with various characters, there needs to be a representative, a mascot of sorts to be the face of the company. And they chose Saber to be that face, sort of like how Pikachu is the mascot of Pokemon, except Type Moon has a rather, let's say, perverse fanbase. Wait, no. Actually, no, that works for Pokemon too. And boy, is that Saberface everywhere. There are so many Saberfaces, in fact, that some might find it rather confusing on who is who. So I'm here to help explain which Saberface is who and whom they are based off. And, of course, I'll be giving a Saber rating. Some minor spoilers, obviously. Let's begin. So, a little bit of background about the Saberface. Saberface didn't actually originate from Saber from the Fate series. The first of what you could actually call a Saberface originated in another creation called Tsukihime, with the leading lady argued having said Saberface. Now, canonically, she isn't really a Saberface, but they share the same look. Why is that? Well, that's because of the artist. Takashi Takuchi was the one who originally created these characters, and like every other artist, he has a specific style when it comes to drawing people and faces. And this style made him draw Saberfaces rather often. They just have a certain way on how they draw people and faces that may have different characters look similar just through coincidence. Take another example, Mash from the Fate series. She's also not an actual Saberface, but she does have, a Saberface. But Takuchi and Kinoko Nasu just ran with the similarity and turned it into something bigger. Their fate and their greater Type Moon universe can be considered rather confusing. So I'll do my best to bring it to you rather gently and give you the basics on how each Saberface works. Now, let's begin. The original Saberface, based off King Arthur Pendragon from the Arthurian legends. She is just King Arthur, but, a girl. Artoria Pendragon. Was it Arturia or Altria? Alberta, Alabama. Look, the name's spelled differently a surprising amount of times, but canonically it's pronounced Artoria Pendragon. The basis for her lore is rather similar to the actual legend, albeit with some minor differences, not very important right now. She is the leading lady of the original Fate series, Fate Stay Night, and also the leading lady for its direct sequels and prequels. Also, she likes to eat. A lot. The poster child. Even in other stories, she will make an appearance, somehow or another. 10 full Billy Artorias out of 10. So before I go on about Artoria's variants, I'm going to talk about some non-Artoria related Saberfaces that are still related to... Look, you'll understand what I mean later on. Mordred, surprise surprise, is based off Mordred from the Arthurian legends. Much like the actual story, she betrays Artoria and then gets stabbed for her troubles. A tsundere tomboy, she first appears in Fate Apocrypha. She was the Saber of the Red Team. She then reappears in Fate Grand Order, first as a goodie, then later on a baddie version of herself appears, which still remains consistent to all this lore that we know already. I'll give it a 3 tomboy girl out of 3. So Jeanne is one of the few Saberfaces that aren't actually blood related to Artoria at all. Obviously, she is based off Jeanne d'Arc, actual historical figure, and she is a servant with a special ruler class. And genuinely, Jeanne d'Arc is a wholesome, cheerful character. She's basically what you would imagine an anime-fied version of Jeanne d'Arc would be like. I'll give it a 5 out of 5 frothing gills. Okay, so technically Arthur Pendragon does share blood with Artoria Pendragon, but since this is, the dude version, or actually the normal version, it's completely different. He was originally meant to be in Fate Stay Night, but then Nasu wanted it to be a boy meets girl scenario instead of a girl meets boy story. So, he changed the genders of the two protagonists. He does make his first official appearance in Fate Prototype, which is an what-if animation of what could have been if the original idea had stuck. I'll give this a holy grail out of 1. Red Saber, based off Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, who, aside from his historical accomplishments, is known to be the absolute worst. Considered compulsive corrupt, he was known for enjoying torturing people, murdering his own mother, forced his advisor to commit suicide, rumored to have burned down Rome itself, allegedly. No proof was ever made of that, so of course, His fake counterpart, Nero Claudius, is a haughty and a bit of an airhead who is cute and lovable and likes saying umu, and also became a meme singing Podoro Podoro. Appropriate for him, I guess. She originates from the Fate Extra games, an alternate reality in which all mages are stuck in a virtual world located on the moon. Don't ask, you don't need to know anymore. All you need to know is that they're in simulation and they're located on the moon. That's all you need to know about her. She's one of the main characters of the story, and surprisingly, a love-obsessed idiot. She then returns in Fate Grand Order as a protagonist and helps in the second singularity. I give it a 3 umus out of 2. Now has a wedding dress. She's still a saber, but she does use blue cards instead of red ones. There's no other change other than that. 1 wedding out of 1. Now she has a swimsuit. Also a caster. She wants to spend her summer with Ritsuka. You're gonna see this trend occur quite a bit for other characters later on. I give it a 1 failed idol out of 1. Is one of the leading figures of the Indian Rebellion of 1857 and became a symbol of resistance to the British regime for Indian nationalists. Introduced in Fate Grand Order, she is possessed by a god called Lakshmibai and appears in Fate Grand Order Lost Spell Chapter 4. You may be wondering, why is she a Saberface? Well, that's because she is referred to as Jeanne d'Arc of India. Yeah, no, that's the entire correlation. I give this a score of Jeanne d'Arc, but in India. Okita Soji, based off the samurai of the shogunate period, she was created for a gag manga series called Fate Kohai Ace, which was then later on remade to be a more serious series called Fate Red Line. Now, she's actually sort of related to Saber. You see, the story takes place back in World War II during the Third Holy Grail War. Originally, Artoria was meant to be summoned, but during the summoning ritual, some Japanese-based items wound up being in a summoning circle, and that's why she looks like Artoria, sort of. Based off a gag, she can be a rather comedic character until she isn't. She also suffers from tuberculosis like her real-life counterpart. Now that's mainly played for laughs. I give it a 7 Nobus out of 7. Now I chose to put these two together because the Corpse King actually doesn't have much that I can talk about, and is also very closely related to Grey. They both appear in the same series, Lord Emeloy's The Second Case Files. Her family are a line of mages, and through some weird magic gene inheritance, Grey wound up somehow looking like Artoria, but only a tiny bit. Her family were crazy, however, and saw her as the second coming of Jesus Christ, as Artoria Pendragon, and warped her face to try and become more like Artoria, so that's why she looks so much like Artoria. Also, why she hates looking at Artoria. As you might be able to tell from the title of the series she comes from, in her series she goes around trying to solve mysteries, by killing those mysteries. The Corpse King is meant to be Artoria Pendragon's mind recreated, and then meant to be fused onto Grey later on in the future, who is the body of Artoria, to become Artoria. That's all about them, I guess. I give Grey 1 white out of black and the Corpse King a brain. Now let's begin with the Artoria variants. Now you thought it was gonna be Alter first, but no. We're starting off with Artoria's swimsuit version because she's the most Artoria-like out of the bunch. She's Artoria, but in a swimsuit. You might think that's just an outfit change, and you'll be right, but also, oh so wrong. You see, in her swimsuit version in Fate Grand Order, she goes from a saber to an archer class, because instead of using a sword, she uses a water gun, and also a sword. Also, she might be a slightly more horny, driven than her normal counterpart. Also, she can't actually swim, so she uses magic to hover above the water, like Jesus Christ, Naruto Uzumaki. Also, she wants her master, and disowns her daughter. That last part's pretty much the same, though. 2 watermelons out of 2 water guns. Now, since we are talking about Artoria, let's bring up her daughter's version of the swimsuit, or son, niece, nephew. I don't know. Fate's weird, and Artoria legends are even weirder. Or maybe less weird. Morgard is now a rider, for she rides the waves. Her surfboard is a sword scabbard. Don't think too hard about it. She now wants Ritsuka Fujimaru even more. Yeah, there's a bit of a trend for all the swimsuit versions. I give it a tan mo out of untanned 1. Saber Alter, which the fandom dub Salter. First introduced in Fate Stay Night, she was originally Artoria that had been corrupted by the evil magic of an even more evil and corrupted Sakura Meito. One could say essentially through mud wrestling. Anyways, in that timeline, she became a villain, and she was a lot more cold-hearted and tyrant-like. Extremely uncaring to those around her, she later on reappeared in several different Type Moon-related stuff, usually just being the evil version of Artoria. That is, until Fate Grand Order. In the waifu gacha game, she starts off as an antagonist, as always, but even she in the story wants the protagonist, Ritsuko Fujimaru, to defeat her and fix the messed up timeline they were in. She later pops up here and there as a servant that you could use. Especially in the Shinjuku Singularity, she becomes a full-fledged tsundere good guy and helps save the day. She also loves junk food. 6 burgers out of 6. Look, if her original version was going to get a swimsuit, then you know she was going to get one too. Especially if it means that she can spend more time with the MC, Ritsuka Fujimaru.
まさか、ここまで手のかかるマスターとはな。
She's also a maid now. The design is mostly based off of a gag in an animated series, I believe. Also, she gets a motorcycle. And also is an assassin now, who likes ice cream. 2.5 eaten popsicles out of 2. Artoria Alter is Santa Claus, and that is the law. She gives gifts to the good boys and girls, and death to the bad. She's a rider class because now she has a sleigh and the power of Christmas on her side. Ritsuka is her reindeer, so she probably rides them too. Basically, she's a lot more festive. 5 fried turkeys out of 5. She is the main big bad for the 6th singularity in Fate Grand Order. She doesn't actually die like in the original legend, and is forced to live out the next 1500 years or so. These same strange circumstances are also what caused her to lose Excalibur, which was what stopped her from aging. So without it, she began to age normally. Up until she was the full package, of course. No need to grow any older than that. Though part of the reason for that is also because of the holy lance she now uses in place for Excalibur, Juana Mignard, which is a weapon of King Arthur's from the Welsh version of the legend. Basically, Juana Mignard is a magical weapon that has changed her from being a normal person into a goddess, losing all of her humanity. I give it a 6 singularity boss out of 6 singularity bosses. Now, this Artoria may look a bit like the last Artoria, and the Artoria before that, and the Artoria before that, and whatever. But this is different, okay? And unlike the Lion King version of herself, she doesn't do a deal and forsake her humanity. She simply just chose to main a lance instead of a sword, and she is the only Lancer servant with an actual lance. Well, this lack of humanity, coupled with the fact that she is a lot more mature and still having a lovable Artoria personality, makes the community quite appreciative of her. The fact that Fate Grand Order is a waifu collector doesn't help, and also she has some interesting dialogue regarding to Ritsuka Fujimaru. I mean, some of the stuff that people post aren't half bad. One Lancer out of an actual Lancer. Next. It's summer, and she's tired of her mini versions hogging the spotlight. Existing in a summer event, the Summer Lion King is the owner of Casino Camelot, master of the cards, and given the class ruler to prove it. She's probably also trying to seduce Ritsuka. At least that's what the fandom tells me. I give her a straight flush on the flop. Look, if her younger self's gonna go goth, why won't she? Though, in comparison, her story is rather unique, in the fact that there really isn't one. You see, she was first introduced before Lancer Artoria, the Lion King. She was an enemy in the Fourth Singularity. From the tidbits that we are given, we know that she, much like the other Lancer Artoria, participated in the Battle of Hill of Camelot and lost everything from it, but how exactly she became her corrupted self is relatively unknown. While her basics and personality is the same as Alter, she became this altered form from something happening across her journey, becoming the King of Storms. As for now, all her appearances after the main singularity are mainly played for laughs. And fan service. I give her a true Ox King out of Chocolate Lance from the Bosom. Trust me, that makes sense if you've played the game. She's a Toria, but still in training. She's kind and very innocent and wholesome. She officially appears in Fate Grand Order's Saber War event as the protagonist, in which Ritsuka Fujimaru must help her become Saber. I give it a 1 lily out of 0. She's from an alternate dimension / galaxy / universe / reality Artoria. Her job is to eliminate all other Artorias because there are way too many Artorias. So of course, she's an assassin, just not very good at it. She's an airhead. Debuting in the same event as Lily, she dreams of defeating all other Artorias. She's technically an alien, so she's not actually Artoria. Yeah, I don't know either. 6 Ahoges out of 6. There are 3 rules in life. People die when they are killed. The Archer class is a lie. And all Artorias have an emo goth version of themselves. Making her appearance in both Saber Wars 2 and Gura Gura, she is Artoria, but truly corrupted and evil. For she is the most wretched being of all of existence. An otaku. Truly revolting. She goes to space high school, likes weep things, is a Sith Lord, and actually a lot more calmer than MHX despite being a berserker. 6 mochis out of 6. Rule number 4 in life. All Artorias have an older and curvier version of themselves, and don't you ever forget about it. Introduced in a summer event, she is MHX but all grown up. Now she has a job as a space police. She's got a mech suit to fight justice or something. Surprise, surprise, much like the other summer versions of Artoria, she's in heat. For Ritsuka. 10 cup ramen out of 10. She is Mysterious Heroine X, but actually kind of effective, less of a goofball, and a bit more evil. I give it a Y+. She isn't actually a real Artoria, but a fairy. Don't ask. She exists in Lost Belt 6. To be honest, I don't know much about her. I'm only on this 3rd Lost Belt currently, as of recording. Mother Earth is her mother, literally. The planet created her. She's more like Artoria Lily than classic Artoria. I give it a 7 Artorias out of 7. Like Caster Artoria, she exists in Lost Belt number 6, and all fairies look the same. No, that's not racist. They live in Fairy Breton, and she is queen. She's cold-hearted and values her land over her people. She is a berserker and crazy because of that. Also, she wants Ritsuka. Surprise, surprise. 5 fairies out of 5. If Artoria is going to have a bunch of emo versions of herself, then so will John. And this emo version will have a rivalry with Artoria Alter as well. Introduced in the first Singularity, she is the main antagonist. Later on, she returns for the Christmas stuff, some other things, but more importantly than that, she returns for the Shinjuku Singularity, much like Artoria Alter. And now, here, she and Salter are now love rivals, both goth and emo, and so full of love, they want Ritsuka. Is this someone's fantasy? I know it's mine. Soon she became known as the Tsundere Queen of the Fate universe. One big titty emo goth GF out of 1. Jealous of Salter being Santa and hogging Ritsuka over at Christmas time, she planned to steal Christmas. And she failed immediately, and became a Lily version of herself. Here she is a child and wants to spread the Santa cheer. Also nicer than her older version. Still technically altered, so evil. Originally coming from Kohai Ace, she was Okita who used the Holy Grail to gain new powers to save the day in that event. Then returning in one of the many Gura Gura events in Fate Grand Order, she helped solve the Singularity with Ritsuka, and has a rivalry with her OG. I give it a 1 alter ego out of 1. She's now got a swimsuit, dolphins, and sharks, oh my. She's now a big sister who can't wait to spoil Ritsuka. Also an archer class because she shoots dolphins. Yeah, don't think about it too hard. I give it a 1 big sister out of Oni-chan. She's a berserker with a samurai sword, because she's a weeb. Also, a very talented manga artist appears. She first appears in a summer event helping Ritsuka save the day by creating the greatest manga to have ever existed. 1 generic manga trope out of 1. After so many years and after everyone else around her got a swimsuit except for her, she finally gets one too. Plus she also gets a jetpack, and is able to hang out with Ritsuka. She finally wins. 1 swimsuit Okita out of 1. Now that's all the Saberfaces. In Fate Grand Order, that is. There's still more. Ready yourself. She's a beast servant in an FGO arcade. What's FGO arcade? It's a Fate Grand Order spin-off in Japan where people play it in arcades. It actually sounds more fun than the current version. To make things even more confusing, this isn't Artoria, but a young Nero. She is a demonic beast, and it has main big bad for the story. She is a demonic beast and the main big bad in that story. That's right, Fate Grand Order is a completely different timeline with its own plot and story that is only mostly similar to Fate Grand Order, the mobile game. I give it a I want to play Fate Grand Order arcade at least once out of 10. I have no idea what she really is. Apparently created from a creation contest that was made by the Fate School Life manga series, she makes her debut in Fate Grand Order X Himouru's World, 7 Most Powerful Great Figures chapter. based off of Leloy, who is a rebel leader that later became the first emperor of the restored Empire of David. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say about this saber, because that's all I know about this saber. I give it a. It doesn't matter. You'll never see her again out of 10. I swear to God, if you do, I'd be so angry. From Hanano Miyako, this is the student council president of Camelot. He's a dude. Not King Arthur out of Not King Arthur. It's an upgrade that makes you more like Artoria. She exists in Fate Khalid. I give it a 2 booster packs out of 2. She's a lion, she eats lancers, an apex predator. She appears in Fate Tiger Coliseum. It's a PlayStation portable fighting game, apparently. I give it a Richard the Lion King's The True Lion King. She exists in Capsule Servant, which is a tower defense game, because apparently that's a thing. She is the ultimate saber who ruled the oceans of a radiant planet from the distant skies. She is said to be the saber of sabers that every saber user dreams of. She's a super rare collectible, and in one ending, because of course this game has multiple endings, Gilgamesh owns her. I give it not my favorite gacha game. That's right, from Capsule Servants, she's a master. She's a regular student, apparently. I give it, I have no idea, I've never played a game. That's it. That's all the Artoria Pendragons that I know exist. And now you know. Now use that knowledge wisely for what? I don't know. I spent so much time on this. I have so much use of information of fake Arthur Pendragon characters. What am I doing? Ugh, I spent way too long on this. I'm done.